Hello everyone and welcome to the MUPL Coach's Corner. Today we've got Lauren doing a set of 2 on deadlifts with 93 kilos. So the first thing I'm noticing watching your video is I see this little bit of backgrounding, and one thing you can do to address that is just actively push out on your belt more. So you can do that by using this maneuver called Valsalva, which is when you're actively pulling your rib cage down with your upper abs and pushing out on your obliques. Another thing I'm seeing is that when you start the pull, you're being pulled a little bit forward by the weight, and what that's doing is it's actually pulling the slack out of your shoulders. So if you just take that extra second to posture up and really let your arms actively lengthen while still keeping the tension in your shoulders, this will help you stay more upright in the movement. And then last thing is I'd just like to see a little bit more of hip abduction. So imagine you had a sheet of paper towels underneath your feet in a sumo stance and act like you were trying to rip those paper towels apart.
All right, so we're taking a look here at Taylor, knocking out a set of 4 on the deadlift today. Taylor, main thing that sticks out to me here is I think we could just have a little more control, changing direction between that eccentric and concentric phase. You're doing a good job of keeping, the tension pulled out of the bar, making sure that you're postured up, and then controlling that eccentric ultimately. But I think if we just rest those plates fully on the ground while still keeping that slack pulled out of the bar, you'll get the same effect of, being able to change direction without fully resting the bar on the ground, but also being able to clean it up, and not bounce it off the platform. Another thing that we could do a little bit better on is pushing those hips backwards when starting the pull, and really force yourself to posture up, pull those shoulders upright, pull those eyes up, chin up, and really try to power off the ground by using some leverage from your hips. I think right now we're relying a little bit too much on the quads to power it off the floor, and then, you're using your back to get it the rest of the way. And I think that if we take a couple seconds longer to just posture up before you break the floor, really load those hips, brace through your core, pull those shoulders back, we'll have a little more success there. And at the same time, when you get to heavier loads, if we're relying on those quads to break you off the floor, your back may not be able to keep up as you get to lockout. So really just being a little more patient there off the floor, maybe even bringing that stance out just a little wider, may help you to be able to bring those shoulders up and posture up, like I said. Some ways you may want to go about implementing these things in training would definitely be on the tempo work, focusing on that pause on the floor, and then, like I said, just posturing up before you really start breaking the ground. Other than that, dude, pulls look solid. Knee positioning is good. Hip position is good. Main thing with that, though, is that we could just bring it a little lower and bring those shoulders up. All right, so we're taking a look here at Ben doing a set of 8 on the back squat. Ben, the main thing that I would point out to you with these is that we could probably cut depth just a little bit. You're doing a good job of making sure that depth is a priority and that we're keeping everything to comp standards. But at the same time, we may be sacrificing a little bit of power that we could use to initiate that concentric phase by sort of relying on that stretch reflex and getting that bounce out of the bottom. One way that you might go about starting to implement this in training would be to throw a box under you, test it out with your body weight first and make sure that that hip crease is right below the top of your kneecap, and then just start practicing there. When we do that, we don't want to fully sit on the box, and you also don't want to obviously bounce off of it. Really just one way I like to think of it is start decelerating as you get lower into the bottom of the squat, and then be able to just kind of flip a switch and accelerate right back up. Aside from using the box, you may want to start trying to focus on that a little bit more when you're doing your tempo work, having the ability to use a lighter load and sort of focus on that slow eccentric, decelerating into the bottom, and then holding that what we would call an amortization period that sort of pause for 2 seconds and then just really accelerating through the concentric. Aside from that, man, you've got good hip and knee positioning overall. Chest is staying up, eyes are staying up, back looks tight, and it looks like you're doing a good job of pulling that bar into you. So really good squats here, man.